Hello there, people of the internet. I am out here with an extremely sporterized M96. This is a Carl Gustav rifle. You guys have seen this rifle on the channel before. I've made full-on videos about it. And I have had people tell me to unsporterize this and save it, bring it back to life. And unfortunately, there's nothing on this rifle that I can unsporterize. The stock obviously is gone, the barrel's been cut, the receiver's been drilled and tapped for a scope, and the bolt has been defaced. There's literally nothing on this rifle that I can unsporterize. Literally nothing. Anyway, so I don't really know where to start with this. So what I'm doing here is I'm going through everything inside of my arsenal, and I'm talking about the history and development of them and why they exist. And since this right here is the only M96 that I have, this is what I'm going to have to use to represent the Mauser model M96, which is a very key step in the development of the Mauser rifle, which is very much an incredibly popular rifle, not just here inside the United States, but all over the world. In fact, it is so popular that it is what most hunting rifles are based off of. So, the M96, contrary to what a lot of people have tried to tell me over the years, is not an update of the M95 rifle. The M96, what was that? Was that water? The M96 is actually, where is that coming from? Is that coming from you? Get out of here, Moss. The M96 is actually an update of the Mauser Model 93. Both the M95 and the M96 are essentially Mauser Model 93s with a couple of changes to them. All of that being said, I can't necessarily show you the changes with this rifle, or at least not all of the changes. Whenever it comes to the Mauser 95 and the Mauser 96, those updates and changes were not how would I describe this? They were not a direct result of Mauser making updates and changes to his rifles. They were a result, with some exceptions, they were a result of the country in question making specific requests. So the Chileans adopted the M95 Mauser with their own specific desires and set of credentials, with, like I said, some exceptions. And then the Swedes adopted their rifle with their own desires and essentials and whatnot. And although those rifles are designated as their own year of rifle, they're still based heavily on the Mauser M93. They're just updated versions of the Mauser 93 to fit the criteria of those specific countries. So the M96 that we have here, this right here has been rechambered for 6.5 Sweede. Well, I say rechambered. This right here is chambered in 6.5 Sweede, as opposed to its predecessors in 7.65 Argentine and 7mm Mauser. So that right there obviously is a direct result of the Swedish saying, hey, we want this rifle in 6.5 Sweede. But if another country adopted the same rifle chambered in some other caliber, then the M96 wouldn't only be chambered in 6.5 Sweede. Same with the M95 being the Chilean Mauser. There were some differences with the Chilean Mauser's receiver. There was a piece of the receiver that came up behind the bolt of the M95, and there was just kind of to serve as like a safety mechanism in case the bolt failed. For the most part, the M95 and the M96 are both Mauser 93 actions. We got ourselves two locking lugs and, you know, the long extractor on the side of the bolt, and those are very Mauser reminiscent. They're both cock-on-close systems. One of the differences between the 93 and the 96 pattern is that on the back of the bolt right here, we have this extra thumb groove right here, so you can comfortably decock your rifle if you feel like. Pull down that trigger, and that thumb groove will help you lower that firing mechanism down. So like I said, you can comfortably decock your rifle. I'm sure that was something that was requested directly by the Swedes. There was some changes made to the sights from the 1893 pattern to the 1896 pattern. And of course, there were some things done with the stock just because it was a different pattern. There were some updates made to the actual follower to be a little bit more reliable. That was something that happened in the M95 as well. And the front of the bolt face was actually round now, as opposed to the 1893 pattern, which was squared off. It was believed that the squared off bolt was going to be necessary to feed from a double feed system, but then it became pretty clear that it was not, so they cut that out to kind of save on machine time and whatnot. I have an 1893 pattern here, and I'll take the bolt out for y'all. You can see on the bottom of the bolt how it is in fact squared off, and that right there was simply done because they were feeding from a a double feed magazine. Now, the Swedes would use this rifle in 6.5 all the way up to, I think, 1938. During that time period, countries were moving to a short rifle, or a shorter rifle than the standard long rifle that most countries had during that time period. So they adopt a shorter rifle as well, designated the M38, I think. Anyway, I don't have one of those, so I can't show that off, but it's essentially the same thing as the Mauser Model 96, just a shortened version of it, which is something that was very typical of countries during that time period. So, now that I got all of that said and done, let's go ahead and just send a round downrange. I have me an old round of 6.5 Swede. This is Norma ammo, and the round is getting corroded, and the actual lead on the tip of the round. What was that sound? The actual lead on the tip of the round is corroded, so I can't rely on this for any real accuracy. So I'm just burning through some of this old 6.5 Swede ammo at the range, making my videos and whatnot. Let's go ahead and load a round up, and we will send a round down range. I'll just go ahead and smack the car with it. I see over in, oh, well, they were here earlier. We had some cows over in that direction, so I was going to try to avoid them, but I guess that's not a problem anymore. This particular one has a really finicky extractor that rounds just don't really want to get up into. So sometimes that does give me trouble. Alright, I'm just going to send this at like the rim of the car down there. Yep, we hit the rim of the car. Boy, oh boy, don't I feel special. Okay, well this right here is reloadable, and it's not zeroed at all for this ammunition. So I think I hit the rim of the car. So I'm going to go ahead and save this round for later. Pop that into my pocket. Now, up next we have the Mauser Model 98, which my next video will be on, and there are some substantial changes with that Mauser model. That is the very popular Mauser model that would absolutely take the world by storm and like be so successful that our modern hunting rifles made to this day, some what 1890s, so let's say about 1900, because it was only 2 years before that. Some 120 something, 125 years later, we're still basing our guns off of that Mauser Model 98 design. We'll take a look at that in the next video. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I'm going to go ahead and go grab my 98, send some lead down range. That'll be a fun video. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. Shame that bolt action shotguns aren't more mainstream.